Welcome to our PRBI live session today. I'm your host Tarunjit Ratan, and today we take on the challenge of addressing the agency of the future. We are delighted that at PRBI we have been able to bring you sessions on PR and communication from different parts of the world with agency leaders who are seasoned experts with decades of experience in their field. And today we bring you another interesting session from the beautiful country of Finland. In today's session, we speak to Taru Nikulainen on designing the agency of the future. Taru is the managing partner of Brunnen Communications that is based out of Helsinki, Finland. So, a little bit more about her. She also serves as a board member on several communities and committees, including the board of Community International and MTL. Taru has been in the industry for 25 years and specializes in managing change, crisis management, public affairs, and issues management. She's worked with several prestigious names in PR before starting her own agency, Brunnen, which, by the way, means fountain in German or Swedish, Brunnen Communications in December 2010. Launching and managing an agency itself is not an easy task. Successful business owners, though, find the energy and the courage to step outside their comfort zones to understand and ideate about what next. They need to be if they want to figure out, how to make sure that the agency survives in the next quarter or the next year. What is the next big thing? Are you ready? What will the future in my industry look like? And can I be the one to create it? I think those are the questions that always plague a business owner. And that is what we will delve into today with Taru, the agency of the future and how to create it. Yeah. And, designing an agency of the future, I'm sure takes a fair amount of innovation, creativity, strong leadership with a fair dollop of determination and perseverance. And I'm sure there are a lot of other things that are in the mix. And our PRBI member Taru is at the forefront of it, creating the future as she charts a new course for her agency. So let's add her on. Hi, Taru. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine. And you?
Wonderful. So good to have you here today. It seems like a beautiful day in your country today.
Yes, it is. Actually, we have minus 20 degrees, so the real winter, so a little bit chilly, much snow, so and sun is shining. So when I woke up, so I needed to go to our yard to get my garden clean because I couldn't drive my car outside the garden because there was so much snow. So this is greetings from our northern part of Europe, so Scandinavia. So that's our life now. But nice to be here.
Lovely to have you here. So, before we start, I want to know, what got you into PR and what keeps you here? You've been in the industry for over 25 years. What keeps you here?
Thank you. That is a very good question to start. So, first of all, when I was a child, I wanted to be a writer because I loved stories. I think many communication pros love stories. We are writing stories, but when I thought that writing is too lonely for me, I want to be with people. So in the school, I really loved languages, especially German. That's my love, by the way, and Swedish too. So I after the school, I went to university and started to study German linguistics, which is German culture, language, and literature. And I think this, like a very understanding soul of languages, is a good support to communication people. And then I was thinking that what could be a good combination for my German linguistics, and I really found organizational communication at the university, and I felt in love in that subject, and I'm still in love with that our subject. So I then started to study organizational communication as my minor, but
Right.
decided pretty soon that I want to change this to my let's say my main subject as a major. So I made my master's thesis in organizational communication, but because I was quite at the end in my German studies too, so I made another master thesis in German too. I don't know where I did get that energy, but so I did. After the graduation, I then went to my first job, which was a very big international PR agency.
Right.
And this was the start for my PR agency career. I started, of course, as an assistant and as a planner. I think it's very important to start there in order to see the whole chain in the agency if you are young.
Absolutely.
And yes, I remember that I really figured out what is the power in PR and what is really that we can change the world if we want, because we are able to communicate and tell the honest truth and the clarity of things. And at that time, actually, I was part of the team. We had a client of a big international forest company,
Right.
and they were in the middle of the big reputation crisis. That was totally new for me. This kind of crisis communication, I learned a lot. It was actually very inspiring and also a little bit painful, because almost every morning when I woke up and I look at the newspapers, the main newspapers in Finland, I noticed that the main headings were reporting about this our client. So I think that was my high school of practice in PR agency world, so to say.
Awesome. It's so nice to speak to somebody who's still in love with the profession, even after being in the profession for so long. Really, really inspiring. Yeah, and I'm fascinated by the fact that you know 6 languages. I mean, one language is tough in itself, but you mastered 6 of them, which is fantastic. Why did you decide to go on? I mean, one language after the other.
Well, actually, I'm not so pro in those 6 all languages, but I can, yes. Well, we are just a tiny country, only 5.5 million people in Finland, and nobody knows Finnish language. So we all Finns, we learn, first of all, we learn either English or Swedish at school, and
Right.
after that, many people, they take the third language, or the second, which is normally French or German. And well, I love languages. Maybe it comes. My mother is a language teacher, so I have been grown up in this kind of a family where all the languages were appreciated much.
Wonderful. That's so wonderful. And I'm sure it comes in very handy when you are in the communication profession yourself. So moving on to, your entrepreneurship journey, while being in the profession and working with an agency or a company is different, but I think entrepreneurship has its own set of challenges. What motivated you to start your own agency?
Yes, actually, our Brunnen communication is this year we have the birthday year, so it really, as you said, Tarunjit. So we have been in the market already 10 years. It has been a very fantastic journey, yes, and let's see how we will celebrate our birthday. It depends on the COVID-19 restrictions. I hope that everything is over soon. But actually, I had a dream of my own agency already when I was in my first job in that big international agency. Why was that? Well, I was maybe too young and a little bit naive, and I was observing the situations and people, and thought that, well, maybe I could do something a little bit better. And of course, I know now later that was only part of my youth that I grew up, because I know that maybe I couldn't do that so much better. But of course, in vice versa. So if I hadn't thought about that, so there would be no Brunnen, so to say,
Absolutely.
that you have to have your dream and go to your dream unless you are unhappy. And well, another motive behind my entrepreneur career is maybe that my dad had his own law firm, and I can say that I was more or less grown up in his firm when he was working. So at
Right.
that time when he was working, and after school, I was sitting in the front of the at the table of the secretary, and I was playing to be a secretary of the law firm. And after a couple of years, I changed my role to be a business lady in these kind of things. So that was a joke, but I think that I saw there what is it to work as an entrepreneur and
Right.
as a strong specialist in your field. So that was there are strong memories and happy childhood, maybe, which has brought me to this position now.
Wonderful. So I'm assuming a lot of the business education on how to run a business started from when you were a child. So yeah. What were the initial years of Brunnen Communication like? Can you share a little more about your agency, about the agency that you've currently created? What were the initial years like? How did you decide on which segment that you want to grow with? What was the growth like?
Thank you. A very inspiring question. So yes, Brunnen Communication is we have a small agency based in capital of Finland, so in Northern Europe, Scandinavia, and we are 7 specialists, or a very good combination of senior people and junior people. And from the very beginning, we have been focusing on B2B, and so to say, on very complex businesses of our clients. So we are not at all, or almost at all, we are not working on consumer business, which means that our business vectors are healthcare, and then technology, and building, and then more and more energy, sustainable energy solutions and renewable energy business. So we are so inspired with those clients we have, because our job is not easy. It means that when you are looking at those business verticals in B2B, you can imagine that there are so many different types of stakeholders. You have to understand their motives, their fears, and their thoughts. What do they think about our client? So we have to develop ourselves very much. And you asked why did I choose those verticals? Actually, I think it was a reason for that was my first job in that international PR agency, and because I was put to that team of B2B and this kind of a forest industry and building sector. So I learned this world. It's quite natural for me. So, but something more about Brunnen. Actually, although we are small, we are very capable. According to the recent national study, we were ranked as the second best in image of all agencies in Finland. And the same study showed also that we are actually the best in Finland when it comes to the understanding of clients' business and clients' business environment. So I have to say that I cannot be prouder of my people, because we have done that. So what I want to maybe say to the younger pros, so is that if you believe in that you can, because
Awesome.
you have the keys.
Okay. Absolutely. And I'm assuming it must be very soul satisfying to be working on the kind of clients that you do right now.
That's true. Yes, because you have to really be very aware what's happening all the time. And if you think about like wind power, like this kind of one renewable energy sector, so you can imagine that you have to understand not only their business, but also this very strategical communication. And you have to figure out what are the tools, how do you communicate with the people who are either pro or against of the wind power mill or park, for example. So it's not the easiest choice for us, but I think that's why people, I hope they're enjoying to be here, because there is no similar day.
Wonderful. Before we get into understanding more about PR and the agency that you're creating, could you help us understand, for the benefit of our audience, your media landscape? Because I believe PR and media are very intrinsically related. And when you talk about your case studies, I think it'll make more sense to them if they knew the media landscape and, how it is associated with the PR industry. So can you help us understand that?
Oh, thank you. That's my favorite question, because media landscape is so different from country to country, and I'm proud to say that Finland is I think we have the highest integrity of the media in the whole world. So I mean that we are the country of free press, absolutely free press. And what I'm meaning when saying that is that every Finn can trust on media, what they are writing, what they are telling. So there's absolutely no corruption. There's absolutely nothing that I couldn't trust on journalists. So we are really a country of and land of free press. And it's amazing to follow those news across the world where the situation is totally different.
Yeah.
For example, in our neighboring country in Russia, so it's something very different from our free country, and this means that our job is from that perspective is easy, because what we are talking with the journalists, so we can trust on that they can trust us and we can trust them, and we are together, we are building good stories for the readers and for the Finnish people. So that's maybe about our media environment. So I'm proud of that. And at the same sentence, I can say that also let's say trust on government and trust on authorities in Finland is very high. So what the higher authorities and government is saying, so we are doing, and we are living according to their rules and regulation, like in COVID-19. So we don't have any bad situation in Finland due to the fact that we can trust on the upper bodies, so to say.
Right. That's very heartening to hear, when the situation is completely reversed in a lot of other countries, I'm sure, right? So I'm curious, when you mentioned that this is the media landscape in your country, what is the association of PR and media like? So in a lot of our countries, I'll give you context, in a lot of the countries, and even in my country, in India, there is a love-hate relationship, right? It's almost like, one day there is a huge amount of love between the communities, and the other, well, you just hate each other and you go to Twitter and, start lambasting each other. What is the general feel between the PR and the media community in your country?
Oh, that's another good question. I think I can agree with you with this hate speech. I think that's a general problem across the countries, that people go into the social media, that there are people who want to be aggressive and who want to find something to use. So that's of course the challenge, but it's not a big challenge in Finland. We can behave. We are quite a modest country. People are modest and honest, very honest. So of course I can see in social media some these kind of super troubles when people are arguing with each other, but it's not such a big story when I'm looking at other countries, for example.
Right.
And but well, journalists are very active. Most of the journalists, at least in business and financial media, they are very active in Twitter, for example. And that's Twitter is a very crucial channel to build your reputation. Facebook, of course, also, and LinkedIn. Those are maybe the three main channels or platforms in Finland, and of course Instagram. It depends on the business, but yes. But I think we as PR pros, we have to be aware of the power of social media. That our role is to train our clients to be good in social media, to get the people, help people to understand, and not start arguing on anything. That you really have to have your sense of good situation, how to go there and how to behave there.
That sounds like a wonderful, and very sane working environment. Sounds wonderful. So, let's come back to your agency. How has your agency evolved over the last 10 years? I believe you just celebrated your decade anniversary, right? 10 years in the business. So what was the evolution like, and last year, how has your agency pivoted to make sure that they meet the challenges of 2021? Because I believe in your country as well, there must have been a lot of changes that would have happened because of the pandemic.
Yeah, that's good that you ask. So let's start from the pandemic. So of course that was I think that was a challenging situation for everybody, regardless which business you are involved. But when I'm looking back last spring, so I remember the lockdown. That was totally new for everybody in Finland. What does it mean? What does it mean for the business? So it was, of course, it was a scary thing. But because we had also, for example, we had many projects confirmed and scheduled for the spring or for the summer, and all those projects were, of course, postponed until the autumn, which meant that our autumn was it was heavy working. And I'm so happy and proud of my team that they managed to do that, because it wasn't easy autumn, but we got very good year, and I'm happy from that. But when you're looking at the advertising agency, they have had stronger difficulties, I think, because communication is different. So we are just in the strategic level. So, and actually we didn't have any client losses last year. So which was, I think that was a great thing. But when you ask how has our agency evolved during the 10 years? Interesting. I think we have the main thing we have been changing is that we have changed our service into more strategic direction. When we started 10 years ago, so we did more what the client wanted, but not what he needed. And this is maybe the main clue in to be a good service provider in our PR world, is that you cannot do only what the client wants, because he's not a PR pro. You need to do what he really needs. And sometimes it's not easy to say that, sorry, but you are wrong. But I would, as I were you, I would focus on that and that this. But we need to do that. If we don't do that, we fail, and we don't have any business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you have to have a stronger opinion about how the PR program needs to be run as compared to your client. Yeah. So
Yes.
I believe in the last 1 year, you also looked at a lot of new service possibilities. Can you share a few of them with us and tell us, what are the ones that you have launched?
Oh, yes, this is interesting. I love this topic because as a small agency, I think that we need to be somehow forerunners in our field, which means that we need to evolve, and we need to find out and develop new services because the environment is changing so rapidly. And normal cases that because we are working in those with those clients operating in complex industries, as I mentioned. So normal cases that they have a new challenge around them. They don't know how to communicate, how to behave, what to do, and they are asking. They normally ask us. So, can you help us to develop a concept for this kind of a communication situation? For example, like if somebody is building a new suburb somewhere, you can see that there are so numerous stakeholders, either pro or against of this building project. So what we have done is, for example, we have developed a very great concept to first of all identify also those hidden stakeholders, not only like a normal stakeholders, but also those hidden and shy stakeholders who might have much power to influence in that case. And then after that, we have also built up a methodology where we can really we can pick up, and we can methodology helps us understanding. So what are the motives behind the people? Why are they behaving like that? And what I'm trying to say is that I think that the typical challenge in the organization environment is that you are building your communication strategy from the organizational point of view, not from the stakeholder point of view. And we have turned this vice versa. And this is we have this kind of a concept in identifying and then finding out those motives and fears. We have a great concept that nobody else in Finland have. So that's very popular in those businesses who are really working on and operating in those very difficult environments, so to say. But another service I'm very proud of is that we are operating or working very much on measuring or building up KPIs for communication success.
You also mentioned earlier, I remember something about a communication audit, that you have also taken up something like that. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes, that's another service we have. So we have a sort of communication audit that we offer for bigger clients. For those clients who, a typical thing is also is again that there is a CEO or a new director who doesn't understand what is the where are the strengths and where are the weaknesses of the organization communication. I'm not talking about those communication pros and their skills. I'm talking about the level of understanding, communication understanding, for example, among the management team. So we have the service, and we have a concept where we can find out the, let's say, the hidden gems when it comes to the organization communication, and then also those very, very great things that you have to take care of it. And the typical situation when this kind of a communication audit is being asked is that there is a new CEO who has started, and he doesn't understand that he has maybe heard something about that my company is not so pro in this and this field of communication, but he cannot say or figure out what's wrong or what's good, and we can help in that. So that's great.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. So I'm sure, while you implemented all of this, there must have been some hits and misses with the new service offerings. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, of course. Let's say I think the main challenge in finding out and offering new services, and of course the normal services at the same time, is that it really takes time to make clients understand what is it all about. So you have to repeat and believe in yourself, and of course you have to find you have to be able to describe your let's say the gem of your service very well. But it's not so easy. I can say that it hasn't. Of course, it has taken time to find clients who really understand our logic to approach communication. But now I'm so happy, for example, when it comes to the measuring PR and to building up the KPIs for PR's success. It's more and more clients who are asking for that, because this is the way we can strengthen our role as a strategic advisor.
Absolutely. So that's coming to my next question, right? How do you deal with ROI in your industry? I'm sure it's a bone of contention between you and clients, like in any other country. So what are the typical misunderstandings people have when measuring impact for PR campaigns, and how do you measure it?
Well, yes. First, there are some misunderstandings, yes, concerning the measuring PR. The first and maybe the most obvious misunderstanding is that people very easily think that you can measure PR with the same methods as marketing, and I can say that it's totally wrong. You cannot do that. And when I ask from the people, also people working in PR, so how do you measure your work? How do you measure your PR activities? I'm pretty sure that most of them answer me that, well, we are measuring, like we are following our Twitter followers, how many are them, or we are gathering media hits. So in that way, we see how we have managed. And I can say that this is totally wrong, but it's not totally wrong, but they are more or less those sub KPIs, key performance indicators. They are not strategic ones. Think about the situation that you have you have 1,000 Twitter followers, but what's happening when they are 50% of them, they are not the stakeholders you want. So this is the thing that I want to advise PR scenery, that you have to understand the strategic level first before you can do your measuring. And another misunderstanding is that somebody else, like your boss, who is not working in PR as a PR pro, is defining the KPIs for you. I can say that this is also another typical situation, because there are situations where, for example, the management team has defined KPIs for communication department, and I'm frustrated to hear that, but I know that this has happened, because how can they do that? How can they do that? Because we as communication people, we are not defining any KPIs for example, logistic director or financial director. But how can they do? How they can do that for us? So my tip number 2 is that don't ever let anybody else define KPI metrics for you, because you are the pro in doing that.
It makes complete sense when you say that, but I'm sure a lot of agency owners out there and PR professionals are fighting this battle every day, trying to make sure that they own the KPIs, or they define the KPIs rather than the marketing department as a whole. So, I guess we'll continue to battle till we reach your level and figure out that, we are the ones that need to define this. So, coming to, your entire career in PR, can you help us, or can you share a few case studies, successful case studies that you have done, right? I'm curious to know, what are your success case studies? What do they look like?
Well, yes, there are many. There are many. Let me think about it. I think I could, for example, mention 1 or 2. The first one is it goes back to last year when we were working with an international building company, which has headquarters here in Helsinki. In Eastern Finland, but working very, let's say, in 15 countries across the world. And they have changed their strategy, or they have updated their business strategy. They wanted to double their sales within 3 years and keep the same profitability as they had. And the CEO said us that he understands that it will never fly without a good communication. So we jumped onto the board and built up a great communication strategy, tactics. We committed people. We shared stories. We trained the management very much to be better storytellers, to be better role models, and we arranged internal competitions. We introduced the client to the media, not only to the media, also to the politicians in Finland, like public affairs. And then after 3 years, so last year, we could be happy because they had reached their targets. The net sales had been doubled, profitability. And the nice thing is that the Finnish market, as I said, they are operating in 15 markets, but the Finnish market was very, how do you say that? It was like in theoretical, there was no possibility to increase anymore. So right. Because the almost everybody had already their services. But actually they managed to increase. And the CEO said that now I understand what is the power in PR. You have done a great job.
Wow.
Yeah. And another case story goes to the wood industry or wood building industry. You know that we have many forests in Finland. We are full of forests, full of nature, and so it's quite natural to build wooden buildings like public buildings, schools, kindergartens, libraries, hospitals. And our clients want to increase this wood building even more in our country. So we built a good communication strategy. We met the media across Finland, and we made great public affairs. We met politicians, we met NGOs, other influencers, and yes. And what was the result of this 2 years work was that mayors of 10 biggest municipalities or cities in Finland, they said together in the publicity that now they are going to increase wood buildings in Finland within the next years. So that's what I'm trying to say, that this is a strategic way of thinking. When you are looking at the PR measuring, it's not about Twitter followers or media hits. They are of course. Of course we will measure them also, but you have to think about it very business critically, and to connect business to the communication. Maybe those stories are in my mind now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, I think all of us in the PR profession need to start looking at the big picture and see how PR can be dovetailed into business goals rather
Yes.
than just looking at number of articles you can give them or number of Twitter followers that you can increase. That's very, very sane advice. So 2020, I'm sure, must have brought its own set of challenges for you. Can you share with us some of your biggest challenges, last year, and some of your biggest learnings that you're taking with you in this year as well?
Well, challenge last year challenge was of course COVID-19. That was I think that's the same challenge for everybody. And the challenge and learning was that in this kind of a totally new and surprising situation, the only way to survive and to feel well is to focus on what you can to do at the best. So don't look behind, don't look beside. Just focus on those client work, and focus on your skills that you can be that you can do best. And connecting to this, I can say that you have to be very flexible and very quick to help your clients, because last year there were some clients who their business was so diving that they couldn't find the right way to communicate to their own people, to their clients, so they needed us. So my advice is that when you are in the middle of the crisis, you have to focus, and then you have to keep calm, unless you cannot work. And last but not least, my not the learning, but a good thing to remark and to remember is that you have to take care of your most important, and that's your own people.
Your team, yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
And maybe about next or this year. So well, I really hope that COVID-19 is over soon, but nobody knows. I think that we have to wait until summer. Maybe after summer the situation is better, but I think that's business is now a little bit more normal. So I mean that people have used to that. They know that, well, this is the situation right now, and we have to do business, and we cannot look back. And this is also our tactics. So we concentrate on the client work, and we know that communication is needed more than ever, because people are very tired. for negative news. They are also very scary of the what's happening. And what is the key? It's open and honest and motivating communication. So I'm quite optimistic concerning this year. Hopefully I'm right.
All fingers crossed. I'm sure that's how it is going to be. Yeah. But you know what? I also want to understand from you some of your crisis communication case studies. I'm sure you must have handled some burning crises within your community and within your country. Can you share some case studies with us about those? And what were your learnings from, let's say, successes and failures from handling a crisis communication?
Oh yes, crisis communication. That's you know that it's never easy. But actually, you can, if you think about those crisis communication situation, you can see some similarities in all of them. And the similarity is that when the client is nervous, you cannot be. You have to stay calm, and you have to find out very clear words, and you have to be honest and transparent. And you had to be brave enough to meet your stakeholders, to meet your people, your own people, and your external stakeholders. So this is the learning, what I have learned. And yes, what I can share, most of the cases, they are confidential, unfortunately, but maybe one crisis communication case, which we have been also presenting the let's say the DNA of the success, was the one project. It was a huge project in Helsinki, in capital or in capital area, when they built metro, so subway network, and it was postponed, the project, and the budget was also increasing. And the problem was, or not the problem, but the challenge was that this organization who ordered the work from the planning or engineering client or agency or company, it was responsible for all communication, but they had quite minimal resources, so they couldn't do that as well as it could. They did good communication, but they didn't have resources enough. When the media find out that, well, there are some challenges in this huge subway or suburb subway project, so they called us and say that, well, what can we do, because we cannot say anything, because it was in the contracts that this order organization it was responsible for all kind of communication. So we went to the client and built up advised them to be, although they couldn't tell anything about that very difficult project, what they could do is that they could tell to the audience and to the media, to other cases they have succeeded very well. I mean, because they are the planning or engineering company who has been involved in hundreds of very like wind powers or nuclear power or motorways, these kind of things. So we motivated them to be brave enough to say, well, hey, we can, and we will do our best. And we trained the management to meet to be able to go to the television, to the interviews, and then yes, we succeeded. And I was talking with another one of my clients who didn't know that we were involved in that crisis communication case, and it was a day after one big television interview where my client was there in front of the television and cameras, and another client said about, did you see that television broadcast last night? So something has happened to that client or to that company, because he was so sorry, she was so brilliant, and she could answer the questions, and she was so I really like that. And I couldn't say that, well, by the way,
that's you.
Yeah, we have done with my team, we have done that work. So this is one of the greatest stories, and my advice here is that just tell what you can, be honest, be transparent, and don't scare of the reaction of the external environment, because we are all people.
No, and I think it was a brilliant strategy to divert the conversation about their successes instead of focusing on their failure. Yeah, very, very, very smart move. So, I want to, so we are running out of time. It's already about to be an hour.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Time flies.
yeah, what would your advice be to PR professionals who are entering the industry right now?
Well, that's nice. What could I say? First of all, I remember that some other PRBI member has said the same, but I want to repeat it, that if you think that this profession or career is full of glamour, I can say that it's not. It's hard work. So it's far from glamour. What I'm talking about is that when you have to be very flexible in this work, because almost every morning when you are open your computer or you are entering the office, I can say that you have your plan in mind or in your notebook, that now today I'm going to do this and this and that. But I can say that 50%, there might be 50% possibility that your day will be changed a lot as soon as the client calls. So this is hardworking, and you have to manage the details, but you have to see the big picture. And another advice to the people who are entering our industry is that you have to be good in writing, but it's not enough. So it's just a start. Everybody, we are all quite good in writing skills. Some of us are journalists as a background, but I think it's only the starting point. You have to understand the business logic. You have to be very interested in your client's business logic, and you have to be able to think very abstractly and to handle many different cases at the same time. And maybe my third advice, what could it be? Well, I think this is very important, that don't stuck only in your own business, that you are following what's happening in PR business. Jump into other businesses and, for example, read many different types of article from totally different businesses, from totally different people, not only PR professionals. In that way, you learn how the world is moving and what is your role in that. Maybe those 3 tips to my coming colleagues.
I mean, you pretty much described, what an average day would be like for a PR professional with your first tip. Every time you enter the office, you have a long to-do list, and possibly end of the day, you might not be achieving any of it. The other end of the spectrum is also the agency owners, right? PR agency owners. What would your advice be to them for 2021?
Well, what can I say? I would say that keep going, keep focusing on your own people, keep motivating them, because this COVID-19 is it's common for everybody, and show your direction. And I would say that at the same time as you focus on your skills and your people, I want to encourage you to develop new services. Just listen to your clients. What do they need? What are their hidden wishes? Ask them. Ask them, what do you need? How can we help you better? And be brave enough to develop those services. And well, I would say also that this metrics issue, like how do you testimonial or show the real power and strategic influence of PR. So go there and build up the metrics and teach and learn how you can do that, and then go to the client and say that, well, I know how to do this. Can I help you? Because I can show you the business connection to our work, and you can go to your management team or board of directors and say that, hey, can you see that this is the power of PR?
Absolutely. You've brought in a very interesting point. The other very important or essential point in the entire network is also PR of the client who wants to hire a PR agency or a PR professional. So, what would your advice be to brands or clients? What should they be looking for when they look at taking up a PR partner? Because I believe the right relationship can change the game for them, right? But they have to be able to identify or they need to figure out how to hire a PR agency. What would be the advice for them?
That's a tricky question, yes, because there's I think there's no one right answer, but I hope that the company or client were searching for the PR agency is that they wouldn't define how to do communication and then say to the agency or potential agency, so can you give me a good price for this or your proposal? Listen to the agencies, different types of agencies, and look at this. How do they figure out the world? Where are they concentrating, and what is their advice? As I said before, so you will be lost if you just say the PR agency that you have to do this and that and that. Just listen to the agency people and let them say what is the best solution. And of course, I can say that this, as you know, Tarun, this means this needs very much understanding and a very deep understanding and a good background, because this is not an easy job. So of course, the service has a price. So if you are only searching for the lowest price and the best service, you will disappoint, because it's not a constant solution.
Correct.
But I think that's the question for everybody, for us. So what to say? But most of the clients, I'm very happy. They are very keen on PR's power, and they are ready to invest in our services. So most of the clients, they are. I admire their attitude.
Wonderful. I think it's a great time to be in PR. Last question for the session, right? What would you change about the journey you've had if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice on starting a business in PR? What would it be?
Good question. Well, maybe I will repeat it, that don't do what the client wants, but do what he needs. I think this is I have done my lessons in that when I started my own agency. Of course, I had to find clients with my small team. So, first of all, we were during the first years, we did much work what the client wanted, and it was sometimes it was pretty tough. So I would say that this is maybe this is not a mistake, but learning. And then another learning is that KPI thing, because before we were diving into this KPI metrics thing, I can say that sometimes it was hard to say how we have succeed, because we didn't have this kind of a result framework.
Right.
And I would say that as a new or as a young PR pro, take your look at this world, so you can after that you can stand on your feet, more constant. So this has been a long journey, and still surviving.
Yeah, and I'm sure if your younger self had heard all of this, there could have been a slightly different track, but you learn from your mistakes. Yeah,
that's true. Yes, I think the mistake is the best teacher. This is the best teacher, really, that and of course when it comes to success, if you ask that, so what do you think about success? Of course, it's very fantastic if somebody gives you a positive feedback. I'm always looking at my great people and see and think that I'm nothing without them. So but we Finns, we are so modest people that I see that some sort of modesty is a good way, is a good DNA for PR people, that because you have to stand by your client and be happy that he or she succeeds, and you know that you have the role there, but you don't have to push your too visibly through. You know what I'm saying. So some sort of modesty is a good way to go forward.
Yeah, you are the strongest wind beneath their wings.
Yes, that is. Yes, you are right.
So great, lovely. It was absolutely lovely speaking to you today. Thank you so much for taking out the time today to speak to us.
You're welcome. That was so very nice Friday session. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you again. Yeah, so on that note, I bring this discussion to a close. And again, thanking Taru for the insights that she shared with us today. So that was PRBI member, as you know, Taru Nikulainen, speaking to us about PR in Finland and the agency of the future that she's creating with Brunnen Communications. If you still don't know about them, please look them up on Google, right, and their websites. Thank you again for joining us today for this session. We will see you again at our next live session on 18th Feb with our PRBI member from New Zealand. Till then, you can view all our live sessions on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions for any of our experts, then drop us a note in the comment section below and we will answer them for you. So see you